Hey VC, Big Star 1000 with a final installment of Digs Overseas, this time in Singapore after New York, Lisbon, Paris, Singapore in Southeast Asia, on the way back to Australia. My wife and I, we stopped there for a few days to just break the journey a bit in late January. You can go to things like Gardens by the Bay, which you can see here, very, very beautiful at night, and wander around in Chinatown and see the temples. And best of all, you can eat lots and lots of really interesting Asian food. It's really the place to be if you like Asian food. Lots of food court like these. But you're not here for the food or the landmarks, you're here for the vinyl. So if you do your homework before you go to Singapore, there's this place called the Adelphi Mall, which is right in the city center. And basically is a shopping mall full of hi-fi equipment and records. So I headed down there, very close to our hotel, but I didn't or couldn't find anything that I wanted to buy. Lots of reissues and just generally junk. So I didn't really buy anything there. But I knew that there was more to life than the Adelphi, and there was this mythical place called the Red Point Record Warehouse, which you have to take 2 or 3 metros to get to, and it's in the middle of an industrial estate. It's quite hard to find actually. It's on the sixth floor of an old building, and you have to take your shoes off. But when you get in, you are blown away. My word, I've never seen that many records in the one place. It's just incredible, and there's all sorts of records, rock records, classical records, obviously, also Chinese records, Tamil, Bollywood, Malaysian records, just all sorts of things, and you can just dig for hours. Now the dilemma for me was obviously I didn't have that much time. I only had about maybe 2.5 hours to actually look in there. Imagine, it's just dreadful because you just want to look everywhere and you just can't. Um, and there were all sorts of really interesting things. For example, you'll see in a second this Australian classic and Delhi Wilson big band with Kerry Biddell, which is not easy to find in Australia, and they had that for a mere $15. I met this guy in red there that you can just see. There's a French guy called Patrick living in Sydney. Interesting that two Frenchmen, both living in Australia and both into sort of crate digging kind of business. And this is the Deutsche Grammophon section, which is almost a complete set. Really, it's mind blowing how many records they had. So because I only had 2 hours, and I really was, I was really hesitating on what to do. I basically stuck to one section, and I found a section in the shop dedicated to library music, about 10 cubes filled with library music, and here it is. And so I spent all my time just looking through that section and sampling the records on the turntables, and I was kind of in a hurry, so I could have spent more time and looked at more things. And remember, I was at the end of my trip, so I already was carting around about 45 records in my bag, so I couldn't really buy that many. So it was really cool to look. Bought a few records, not many, just for fun. And I was very, very happy. So you see the Wolf there, lots of classic labels represented in this little collection, KPM, the Wolf, etc. You enjoy a few pulls there. And you probably, if you're into library music, you probably recognize some of the titles, and you're probably saying, you should have bought this, Big Star. But look, this is the extent of my knowledge of library music. It's so vast, and there's so much of it that it's very difficult to choose what to buy. So I looked around, and as I say, I listened to music. But again, if you are in Singapore and you know, you've got 2 or 3 hours to kill. In fact, it's not very far from the airport. If you're in Singapore and you're there for 5 hours in transit, just get out of the airport and and go to the Red Point Record Warehouse. You shall not regret your trip. Um, as you can see, it's just enormous cache of records. It's just so I ended up buying 3 library records, which I'll show you at the end of this video, and a non-library record. You can see some examples of what they had. Even this L. Ron Hubbard Space Jazz record, founder of Scientology. Listen to it; it's not very good actually. And I bought this Glasshead by what's the band called? Unit 8, I think the band is called. Unit 8, that's right. And basically, this is kind of like a synthy, really pulsating record. And so is this Sound Waves Part 1, and I scooped the Part 2 as well, because I thought, there's no point buying Part 1 without Part 2. And they're such cool looking things, and they sound good actually, they're good records. They're really, really pulsating. It reminds you a little bit of Kraftwerk, a bit of Jean-Michel Jarre, a bit of it's that kind of synthy soundtrack, which is really in fashion at the moment with things like Stranger Things. It's that kind of pulsating soundtrack kind of music. And finally, I scooped up a Middle Eastern record, Naif Agbi and his orchestra El Debke. Really, really excellent record. That's it. Singapore in 7 minutes and 22 seconds. I hope you enjoy, VC.